kicking for you like it's 9-3. You see, Rob impact the mic, keeping it real, G. Talk about relationships, money, and health. Dropping knowledge while I'm spitting it, that's a wealth.
Complex conversations, we break it down. Pop culture topics, we hold it down. Dive deep into society's complexities. Educate, entertain, never rest in it. Complex
Context, where the truth unfolds. Analyzing life through stories untold. Rob impact, dropping knowledge every day.
Unpacking life's complexities, one topic at a time. You're listening to Complex Context. Here is your host, Rob Impact.
I am Rob Impact. I'm sipping my maple coffee cake iced coffee. I'm ready to unpack life's complexities, and you are listening to Complex Context. Welcome to our 22nd episode, and I'm very happy that you're here checking us out again for another week of banter back and forth. What's new with you? I've had one heck of a week. I can't wait to give you a little insight to it, and we have a few segments that are going to make us laugh, make us, I guess, a little bit more informed, and maybe just feel good about our life choices. How are you? Was your week a good one? I'm hopeful that it was very prosperous, loving, joyful, and at the very least, know that you could come here and just take a moment to enjoy the show and have a little bit of relaxation, maybe make that commute a little bit better. As usual, I want to give a little bit of love to our listeners out in podcast land, especially for this episode. Our listeners in the United States, specifically the New England area, and those in Illinois, we see you and very much appreciate your time. Also, shout out going out to listeners in Canada. Your support means a lot to us, and we hope to see more places and names and people clicking on, so feel free to spread the love and let your friends and family know about Complex Context. We'll give all the information a little later on in the show. This past weekend, I decided to take quite a bit of time and go through a lot of items, both in my bedroom and in our basement, do some major purging of things that I don't really need or want anymore. And it was, I believe, in line with the fact that I'll be starting my new professional chapter as you hear this episode, which is exciting. And I can't wait that time is finally upon me. But I also looked at it as an opportunity to say, hey, what do I have around the house that I don't need, or that I've just been looking at and keep telling myself I have intent to get around to or use, and I just never do. So I felt like this time in kind of turning the page professionally was a good time to just purge a lot of items. And I'm very, very glad that I did. It felt great as I kept sorting things, throwing things out that weren't needed, things that I know wouldn't be missed, just excess. That it was freeing up room and allowing for better organization. Do you ever have that? And I would say probably, if so, it might speak more to the older listeners than the younger listeners. I found that when I was younger, it was all about just adding on. I want more. I want more. I want this. I want that. And don't get me wrong, I still have those moments where my personal interest, my hobbies, you want a little more of this, you want a little more of that, and you have to really take the time to consider what options you have for accommodating these things, or if you're really going to make use of them, if you're going to have them stick around, take up room, not really serve much of a purpose, or the alternative. So this has been a really good time because I figured in stepping into a new professional role, I would want to make it more comfortable for me at home in terms of when I get back, just kind of soaking all the new information in and the new experiences in. So it was a no-brainer for me to decide, this would be a really good occasion to go through some of my personal items and and do just that, do a lot of purging. I had a really good time doing it, more than I anticipated, and I believe it's because it looks clean. I've tried to maintain a minimalist type of lifestyle, which doesn't always work out. For the most part, I think I do a decent job of it, but it was clear that I was overdue for this. And having less just junk and things make it so that you can focus on the items that are really important and what you really need and what you really want to take your personal time and involve it with. So I would encourage everybody, even if you don't have a particular landmark event in your life upon you or coming up, take that time to just sit back and think about it and reassess your whole personal inventory, whatever that may consist of, and say, hey, what do I absolutely want to have? What do I absolutely not need? What do I need to just cut ties with and be okay about it? And there are a few things that, don't get me wrong, you look at it and you have it in your hand and you're like, oh, this has a little bit of meaning, or this was a really nice gesture, but you can't save everything. And that's tough from someone that has quite a bit saved, both for personal interests and for long-term familial archive type of things that just cannot be replaced in the future, that go back hundreds of years. So if I'm saying it, I figure I must know about it, and you probably are aware too. It's just some people have a more difficult time doing it. So my advice is you have to be realistic. It's important to make sure that what you maintain and what you keep around you are things that you actually want to interact with, or that you can picture real world value in either using them or retaining them. And there are going to be some things that they had personal meaning, or maybe still have personal meaning, but is it something that you're going to want to revisit in another, say, 2 years, 3 years, and you do a major purge all over again? It's not easy, but I'm telling you, the results are absolutely worth it, and I just feel more comfortable on my bedside table area and the hutch that's across from my side of the bed. It's so much more organized, and I can open up my drawer or open up the little cabinet door on the table and look and go, wow, that looks awesome. Like minimal. Only the things, the absolute things that I want. I did the same thing with an end table in the living room. It was kind of becoming a catch-all. Got that down, threw a good amount of stuff away, put some stuff down in the basement, just some minor things, and it's all that I need. We need that sometimes. People like to go with the stereotypical, oh, it's time for spring cleaning or it's time for fall cleaning, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's cool. But I think people lose track of the fact that when you say cleaning, it's not just in a cleanliness and organized fashion. It's also an opportunity to dispose. When you clean, dispose what you can. It's so much easier to have just what means the most to you than have extra items laying around that you're going to have to deal with later on. So any advice that comes out of this would be, make sure that what you have is what you really want, and what you don't need, if you can pass it on to somebody else who will enjoy it, or if you've used it to the point that it's no good, don't feel obligated to hang on to it. Minimize what you have around you, and you're going to appreciate what's left over more. Now that I gave you that, and I hope that was absolutely useful, I'm excited because we haven't done this in quite some time. I'm ready to give you a flavor to savor.
Step up to the plate, we're about to debate the flavor to savor. But never set your rate, taste buds on fire. We're the critics you admire. Break it down on the podcast, set the world on fire. Savory to sweet, we're digging deep. Food and drink, it's a flavor-filled feast. We'll sip and we'll munch, review with the punch. Complex context, bring in the flavor for lunch.
Flavor to Savor is where we discuss today's beverage and food options that you may or may not want to savor. For those of you that haven't heard this segment before, or it's just been that long, let me go over what this is about. This is where I'm going to give a review of something that I recently had for the first time. We have 5 categories that are smell, initial taste, ease of consumption, eventual taste, and desirability. Each one of those categories will get a rating from 1, which is gross, to 5, which is great. At the end, we add up the points, total it up, and we tell you if this item that we're talking about is indeed a flavor to savor. For this episode, I came across something that just seemed right up my alley, and I said, ooh, I gotta try it. And very much in line with past ones, it seems as though more and more I do this show and have this segment sporadically on it, I find that I must be a potato chip head, because a lot of these have involved potato chips. It just happened to work out that way. It is not intentional, but for those who are apparently like me and enjoy potato chips, I have Lay's Wavy Funyuns onion-flavored potato chips. That's right. It is really the essence of Funyuns captured in a ridged Lay's potato chips. Lay's Wavy Funyuns bring savory onion flavor to the crunchy ridges of original Lay's Wavy for a tasty, flavorful snack. And these are available in a 7.5-ounce bag. Typically, they are found at most convenience stores, so feel free to check this out if you're interested. Let's get right to it. Number 1, the smell. What was the smell? Well, I gave this a 3, which was so-so. When I opened up the bag, you can definitely get the Funyuns vibe. You get that essence of the upcoming Funyuns flavor, but you also had that not traditional Lay's Wavy chip smell in there with it. So it's not a bad thing. It just kind of hits you. You're not really sure, like, is this going to be okay? I think it is, but not being used to having those, I don't want to say conflicting, but just very differing and unique smells together. It wasn't something I was used to, but it wasn't a turnoff at all. So that's why I gave smell a 3. Next category is the initial taste. As soon as I picked it up and bit into it, what did I think? I gave this a 4, which is good. Oh man, it had the crunch of a wavy Lay's, and I really enjoyed it. Like really, really enjoyed it. And as you kept crunching into it, you were getting more of that onion flavor. It really just kept coming out with every bite. And I was like, wow, this is really, really good. It had just the right amount of kind of flavoring and salt, and it had the, how am I going to put this? It had the hoped for taste that you would want in an item like this, which is when you're combining 2 things into one, you don't want one to overpower the other. This was really good. As soon as you bit into it, you knew that you had something very nice for a snack. So that's why I gave that a number 4. The third category, ease of consumption. How easy was this to consume? This got a number 5. That's right. It got a great. It was so easy. Not just because of the flavor, but boy, that wavy Lay's chip, it has a consistency which is just so solid. It was really, really delicious, and it made for a great combination with the Funyuns onion flavoring. So every chew, like, it was just so crispy. It was good. I enjoy a good crispy chip, but not a chip that you feel like you're eating Captain Crunch, where if you bite into it the wrong way, you're going to scrape your gums. No, it wasn't like that at all. So it was very easy to put down. I was super happy in chewing and consuming, letting it digest. So Ease of consumption was definitely a 5. Our fourth category is eventual taste. I also gave that a 5 because as I kept going into the bag sporadically and wanting to savor every bite that I had, I didn't try and get into this kind of Cookie Monster routine where it was one chip after the other, after the other, after the other. I feel like you take for granted what you have when you do that. So I took my time with it. And as I kept going on, it just got better, which was weird because it was really, really good during the initial taste. And I found that with subsequent chips, it was just adding on to an already established flavor. It was kind of crazy, but definitely in a good way. So the eventual taste was even more powerful, but maybe that's not the right word as much as more long-lasting, more of an impression on you as you kept consuming. So that's why I gave eventual taste a 5. And our last category is desirability. I gave this a 4, which is good. If I wanted to go back and have it, what would I say to myself? Or if I wanted to recommend this to somebody, how desirable would I say this is? I would say if you're in the mood for a snack and maybe you want to have this accompany your lunch, this is a great option. It has a nice Funyun onion flavoring that isn't as, I guess, profound on the palate as a Funyun might be, and to some they might say offending, because it's a very different texture when you have straight Funyuns. This takes the best essence of the flavor and translates it into a great chip by Lay's. So how desirable is it? I think this could really be picked up by a lot of kids, a lot of grown-ups that just want a quick bite of something, get a few calories in to burn while they're out and about. I think Lay's did a fantastic job with creating this. So we add all of these up, 3, 4, 5, 5, and 4, and our total is 21. Our highest total that you could get for this is 25, but 21 is the first score in the great category. So that's how I would categorize Lay's Wavy Funyun Onion Flavored Potato Chips. Say that 5 times fast. It got a 21, which is great. And one of the top products in this segment, I know we had something else in the history of Flavor to Savor that got relatively high. I'm going to have to go back and listen and figure out, is this the top or is this second to top? I don't know. You're going to have to tell me if I don't find out soon myself, but it's definitely up there. This is one of the highest rated products. So if you want something that's a little bit extra on the calories, but a lot on the flavor palette and the desirability to have it, Lay's Wavy Funyuns Onion Flavored Potato Chips is definitely a great flavor to savor. As I mentioned at the time of this recording, I'm actually in between my professional chapters. I closed the book on my actually it is technically, I did reach 21 years in my last place of work, and boy, I am so grateful to everybody who showed so much compassion and goodwill and congratulations to me. There were so many nice emails and phone calls and in-person testimonials about how the experience of working with me was, and it just was overwhelmingly appreciated and put a bow on my being able to realize that I've done some really good things and I've made the impact that I've wanted to. Hence, Rob Impact. Yes, there is a reason why, not just from my musical DJing days of past, but that really is the essence, is you want to make that on somebody in a positive way. Everybody was just so awesome, and I was very humbled by so many nice gestures. I had a really nice, just plethora of gifts that were provided, which I was not expecting and didn't ask for, but my goodness, they were all appreciated and really made me feel fantastic. And I cannot express my gratefulness to everybody who made my last day, and not just that, but my whole time at where I was, such a memorable one and such a long-lasting one. So if I start naming names, I'm going to leave somebody out. I guarantee you, because it was both people that I worked with in the past, people that I worked with up until the last day. I've had so many vendor relationships, so many people reach out that were from beyond the company where I just departed. So I don't want to name names in the interest of forgetting somebody. That will make me feel horrible. But you know who you are, and I really want to thank everybody for making this guy feel loved and wanted and just having a special place in the day-to-day, both professionally and more so personally. And on that subject, I did have a moment to talk with a core group of folks that I have an incredible relationship with as my kind of last goodbye before I stepped out the door. And I was so thrilled and honored that they took the time to gather and send me off the way that they did. These are people that have solidified their importance to me and continue to remain as such, even if I'm not working with them side by side. I will always give them time and appreciation and the desire for our relationships to continue. So when they did that, I had the opportunity, and I posted this on one of my professional areas of interaction on the internet. And my greatest accomplishment in my time was being able to teach these guys. And yes, there was a lot of hiring. Most of them I had a hand in, at the very least interviewing, if not outright hiring, which was a great opportunity and made me realize, since so many of them have been there for so many years, I am a pretty good judge of character, and it was a right call. They've done fantastic work. But out of this core group that I spoke to at the end, my message was, this is why I was there. And why is that? Is it because I just got along with everybody? Is it because they made me laugh so much? Is it because we just had common interests? It was all of that, but the biggest thing was I was able to teach them and see them grow and go into these new positions, these new roles over the course of years that they've been there. And that made me feel great, because if I had a hand in that, that means I'm doing my job. And my message to them about that is, really it ultimately comes down on the person themselves as far as the information they get, what they want to do with it. But that was really wrapped in the overall message of, it's important to learn, and it is important to be mentored and nurtured. And we really have, as a society, stepped away from that. We think that because our technology is so advanced, quote unquote, that we can figure out most things on ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is great strength and a great benefit in being able to self-assess and self-diagnose a certain scenario or problem and be able to fix that. I would never discourage that, but you can't start with that mindset. The first thing that we should start with is listening to our mentors and our elder population and relying on the life advice and their experiences that we can use as a template to know what we should aim for and want to do versus what we are hoping to avoid and what we shouldn't consciously decide to do. As great as Google may be, and yes, it is really beneficial at times, Google and services like that, Wikipedia, I know it's not active anymore, but I'm going to do a throwback for people my age. Let's say the Microsoft Encarta, right? Some of you will get that reference. Some of you are going to go right to Google and look that up, and that's totally fine. So things of that nature. Those are all great resources, but they lack the humanistic experience of personal interaction and personal opinions and scenarios that our mentors and our leaders can speak of and have us absorb that information to make sure that as we have our journey in completing something or accomplishing something, that we don't make the same mistakes, and maybe we can develop ideas that are greater than the ones that they approach something with. There's benefit in making mistakes. So I don't want to say this in trying to convey, listen, your mentors, our elders, listen to them so you don't make the same mistakes. Of course, that's kind of implied, right? But it's not just about that. It's about wanting to have their detailed experiences guide us to the promised land, to the experiences that we can either initiate or be a part of, and know that they've encountered this already, or their problems that they've interacted with are different than the problems we have now, and maybe we can go back and discuss and say, hey, this wasn't something you had to worry about, but it's something I have to worry about. How would you handle that? Or in your time, how did you handle your problem, and how might it translate to what I'm looking at? It's never going to be a one-to-one, almost. Sometimes it might, but for the most part, the main goal, and this is outside of just a professional setting, is you want to learn and you want to be nurtured, or at least I do, right? Even at my age, I'm still fairly young, and as much as I know, I don't know it all. I don't want to know it all, but I want to learn, and learning is a great thing, and I'm not done learning. I'm looking forward to learning much more in my forthcoming weeks as I get my footing established at my new place of work. I think that's going to be great. I'm going with a set of experiences that I think are going to be extremely beneficial to where I'm going. And that's going to be used in conjunction with new information, new learnings. I'm looking forward to having people say, hey, let me tell you how this is done, or let me show you where we have to get to with this premise, and we can tell you about the ways that we've accomplished it, and maybe you can use your experiences to accomplish it in an even better fashion. That's what it should be about, not just professionally, but personally. We way too often rely on either social media or just social interaction to define what we think we should expect in our lives. And we've gotten away from listening to, well, let me rewind a little bit. And this might be an unpopular opinion. And this is where you come in. This is where I want your opinion, right? And you're saying, well, how do I get my opinion to you? I told you I would tell you. You can find us at Complex Context 1 on X. You can also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/complexcontext1, or send us an email, complexcontextshow@yahoo.com. I'll also give you information on our website a little bit later on, but provide your feedback on the show, maybe some topic ideas, and let me know how you feel about me saying this. The elder population today either does not want to or has not been granted the opportunity to provide their life experiences to us to make sure that we have better livelihoods growing up, right? When I was younger, I can't believe I'm saying that. Back in my day, when I was younger, it was still so important to listen to our grandparents and our grandparents' friends and our great uncles and aunts. That was super important because they were still older, but not so old that their mentality or that their experiences were totally unrelatable and just out of whack, right? There's always something that you could get from the older population. And I appreciated that. Sometimes it seemed like as a youngster, I wasn't really sure the importance of it. But as you get older, it kind of makes sense, right? And that really helped a lot as you encountered new scenarios along the way. And I'm still encountering new scenarios. And I want to, right? That's attractive. That seems like a really good thing. Because as soon as you stop learning, your mind is stationary. It's stagnant. There's nothing happening up there. And I don't want that. And I don't want that for the people I care about. But I haven't seen a mass willingness from older folks to provide vital information, right? There's information that they provide, but I feel like a lot of it these days is very different from, say, 30, 35 years ago, where it could be fun and it could be maybe a touch humorous, but it was always wrapped in, hey, this is advice that's going to help you. Listen to it, right? This is what I got out of my experience and what I want you to know in case you do come across that same experience, or maybe you would like to pass this on to someone else who does. There was always some potential of benefit behind it, right? These days, it's a very different dynamic. I'm not saying that the elder population needs to take themselves so seriously, but there is, from my perspective, an expectation that you should be willing to teach children, and listen, I say children, even middle-aged adults. We're not that old that we can't still learn from you. Teach us, right? You can have a good relationship with these folks, but there is such benefit to letting us know about your obstacles and your accomplishments and how they might line up with ours, or what we may encounter despite having a different landscape of cultural and technological resources today. There's still value nonetheless. And I'm not finding that there's that willingness or opportunity, you pick which one, that we have our elder population provide this. Why is that? Why is it that we look to them for a relationship that's based strictly on, let's say, I don't know, everyday news and semi-pop culture, semi-humorous content, but you're focused all on the potatoes, and I'm not seeing the steak. Without the steak, I don't want the sides, right? I either want it all or I don't. And I think that's really important. We got to get back to that. We got to be okay with the premise of having our elders and our mentors and our teachers give us information that we can absorb and use and vault in our mind and in our heart, and use that going forward and pass that on ourselves, right? Isn't that what this is about, this whole life thing, is sharing that? I find that to be so lacking in so many areas. So to full circle it back, I made sure that as time went on, I wanted to give that to a lot of the folks that I got to work with. I wanted to teach them. I wanted them to know that they had somebody they could bounce their questions and ideas off of. And I also wanted it to be a potential for me, if somebody found a better way than I did, to tell me and show me, and me being able to congratulate them and go, hey, I'd like to use that. Is that okay? Because now I'm learning from who I've helped learn. That is, in essence, what we should be doing. But we've gotten to this point, this very odd point in society where everything is draped in humor, right? Everybody thinks they're an amateur comedian. And listen, I love to laugh, but there's a time and a place for everything. And when you're talking about wanting to learn to make a professional environment better, or learn to make your ability to navigate through life and survivability as solid as possible, right? I don't care how much you want to make it humorous, as long as the main concept is draped in reality and experience and genuine desire to pass on advice, which is going to be essential for people to continue their day-to-day. That has been my attempts for years, and I've seen some people move on, both still within the company I departed and stepped into other pastures in which they have really grown. And that's made me feel great. Even when I miss somebody, knowing that they're leaving, if I know that they're leaving for a great opportunity and part of that is based off of what I've been able to mentor them with, I've done my job. I've done it. And I would expect those who interact with me, the elder population for me, those who can mentor me, even at this stage in life, I do not look at them any differently in terms of what my expectations are. Teach me, show me, guide me. As much as I know, I still need to learn. And for what I have had the opportunity for so far, my hope is as time goes on, I'm going to continue to be able to teach as I gain my footing and traction over time. So let's all be cognizant of the fact that what we know and how we interact are gifts to us that we should be sharing to help become the gifts of others. And they can repeat that as they move forward. Let's mentor and let's teach and let's listen to those who are willing to do it. Teaching is not putting a piece of paper in front of you and saying, read this and you're all set. Teaching is, come with me, let me show you, or let me talk about it, and let me see you try to do it, and I'll tell you what you've done right and what could be better the next time you do it. That's what we need. We don't need the ha-has, right? You can have them, but you cannot make that the priority of your interactions. We need to learn from each other. We need to get back to that. Now, as helpful as that was, and I hope it was, obviously, like I said, let us know. complexcontextshow@yahoo.com. Facebook, we're at facebook.com/complexcontext1 and on X @complexcontext1. If that was some legitimate life advice, I think we need to balance it out with some ridiculous life advice.
Ridiculous life advice.
A vehicle which has no political agenda should probably remain in neutral.
Ridiculous life advice.
Ridiculous life advice. Wouldn't want to end the show any other way. Listen, if you want to send some love to us, we would encourage it. Use those contact methods that we just gave you, but we also encourage you to spread the word. And if you want to know all of the differing platforms that we're on for podcasts, as well as YouTube, you can link up to all of it at our official webpage hosted by our distribution partner, Podbean. Hi, Podbean. Hope you guys are doing well. We are at complexcontext.podbean.com. We are on over 11 different platforms, including YouTube, so there's a way to listen to us all the time. We really appreciate your time. Hope you had a great time listening to us as much as we've had sharing information and kind of bantering back and forth. My name is Rob Impact. Do what you do it often, do it well. Just don't do anything I wouldn't do, and you'll be doing all right. You take care of yourself, and I'll catch up with you.
Visit the show's website at complexcontext.podbean.com. Complex Context is a Mass Ed Media production.